You're listening to Dakota Spotlight, a production of Forum Communications. My name is James Wolner, and this is episode 20 of A Better Search for Barbara.
Hi.
I'm Shelly.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
finally.
to meet you.
I feel like I know you, kind of.
This is my husband, Ed.
And he's snooping in Mom's room and found a letter and said that it was a suicide letter.
He did. He
Yeah.
remembers it being a suicide letter.
Yeah. And he said he brought it up to Grandma and she would not talk about it.
This is the original report that came in on 4/12/1981 at 15:56 hours, okay? And this is what it says. Call from Louise Cotton, reporting that her daughter Barbara has not come home since yesterday. She is a 15-year-old, lists her date of birth, brown hair and eyes, small build, wearing a tan short jacket and blue jeans. Was last seen at a friend's house at about 10 p.m. last night. Was with a guy by the name of Stacey earlier in the evening. Stacey, first name, used to wash dishes at Cakes and Cones.
Some of the things that he liked to do could kill you.
Because how would nobody know about this poison?
He enjoyed choking and suffocating me and my sister. She was, I don't know, one of the kindest people I knew.
But back then it was a popular hangout for the kids that got into trouble.
You're gonna run away with no money.
And I feel guilty that we didn't do enough early on.
Her boyfriend watched her walk to Recreation Park, which is 5 blocks from her home.
But mostly gentle and kind is what I remember about her.
Louise Cotton called, and she reports that she thinks her daughter is in Scobie, Montana with a Stacey Werder. They might be in room 205 at Pioneer Hotel.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 20. Before we get into this Barbara Cotton episode, I want to first of all say that while this season is not ending, season 6 of Dakota Spotlight, titled Vanishing Act, is starting on February 2nd, 2022, which at the time of this recording is in about 10 days. The current plan is that season will be 1 episode a week, with episodes dropping on Wednesdays. I can also reveal here and now that season 6 will be a live investigation, which pretty much should tell you that it's about an unsolved case. Here is a sneak peek.
A couple of people that just vanished off the face of the earth.
If I could say to her right now, if I could go back, I would tell her, whatever it is you have up there isn't worth it. No, it's not worth it.
And that's where the investigators have said that that's the suspicion of where they did what they did.
Get off my property, or I can make you get off my property.
Well, if anyone knows anything, please find it in yourself to do what you would want done for your loved one. I would appreciate that immensely, to know something.
Check out season 6 of Dakota Spotlight, Vanishing Act, starting February 2nd. This episode of A Better Search for Barbara is a little bit of a hodgepodge, but in general, we're going to be talking to Sandee Evanson, Barbara Cotton's childhood friend. You'll remember Sandee from episode 1. And while talking to Sandee, I'll be playing some other audio snippets. Some of these clips are from previous episodes as Sandee and I look back on the last year. But I also recently traveled by car from North Dakota to California, where I stopped one day in Wairika, Stacey Werder's hometown, and I spoke with his sister Shelley and her daughter. You'll remember Shelley from episode 5. So let's get right into my conversation with Sandee Evanson, Barbara's childhood friend, and our friend, the always delightful Sandee Evanson. Hey Sandee, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Freezing in western North Dakota. So cold.
Yep. I'm ready for spring.
Which reminds me, the first time I ever met you, is coming up on almost exactly 1 year now. I think it was January 20-something last year. I went to Williston, met you at Recreation Park, and there you were. I'd never met you before. Almost a year later. I mean, does it seem longer or shorter? How does it feel to you?
It feels like about a year. Feels like a lot of stuff has happened since we met, and then it was freezing like this when we met, and it was also like pretty much the height of COVID.
Yeah, and it was so cold. I was trying to navigate with my microphone and with all these clothes on, winter clothing. I mean, I don't think the podcast would have happened, to be honest, without your help. So first of all, thank you so much. There's one thing that has not happened over the last year. There's a lot of stuff that has, as you mentioned, but we still don't know what happened to Barb. How do you feel just in general about the last year, what's been done? I mean, just in general, I don't know.
I'm feeling, in the end, still sad that we haven't found more out, haven't found her, but I also hopeful, the word has gotten out so much more. Still hopeful that maybe there'll be some cold case type activity going on for her with the police department coming up in the future.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster of a year, I would say. I mean, I don't know if you remember back in March, the first week of the podcast, you told me a story, actually. I think it was the day of the first episode dropping, or second. You came home, or tried to come home. You want to tell that story?
I came home, put my car in park, and messages were going off, or the notifications were going off on my phone. And I kept trying to go inside, but it was one person after another reaching out to me. And I sat in my car for about an hour in my driveway.
With the car running, or?
Yeah.
Because it's cold, probably. Or maybe not.
It was actually kind of a nice day that day, but mostly I just forgot to shut it off because it was like one of the things that was really gripping was Stacey Werder's family reached out to me that day. And Stacey's always been my first memory of what Louise told me about Barb being seen with her or with him. And always never knew for sure if that was true or anything. And they came and said, to me that Louise had talked to their mom and that. So then I started to get validation that what I heard and what I believed all these years was true.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that story. You were, for that whole week or for a couple of weeks, your notifications on your phone were going off all the time. It was a crazy. And okay, my Facebook group, Dakota Spotlight Facebook group, grew from, I think I had 800 members before Barb Cotton, and within a month there were another, 3,000 people. So much going on. It was just crazy, really.
Yep, and every time you put out another episode, and that's the thing too. When I met you in the park, I thought it'd be 1 or 2 episodes at the most, and then you kept finding out more information, and it would lead us down one path and then another path and then another episode would come and then the notifications would be going off again.
Oh, boy. Well, we could talk about some things I got wrong, or I feel in hindsight I could have done better. I've got a couple things on my mind. And one is I feel kind of bad now that some people, when other people have written about this online, they think that Barbara went roller skating. And that's because I started the whole podcast with your story. You went roller skating, walked home that night. And it was just sort of the intro into the story, because I tend to produce these stories as kind of slow burns, longer, more like reading a book, right? Takes a little longer. And that's one thing I wish I'd have done differently. But Barb was not with you roller skating. And another thing I thought of it myself. And then it was, someone pointed it out to me recently, because I always thought it was kind of weird that Stacey Werder would be standing, watching Barbara walk all the way to the park. Like, why would a person just stand there and watch? And I thought, oh, maybe he was smoking a cigarette. And I thought, how long does it take to smoke a cigarette? How long does it take to walk that? It'll kind of, that could make sense. But in 1981, no one had to go outside to smoke a cigarette. I mean, that was in my head, right? Like, you got to go outside to smoke. But back then you could just, if he was at the Plainsman, for example, he would just be inside smoking, right? What do you think?
Well, remember though, there is somebody later on was it Randy Falcon and them that
Daryl
said
Lund,
somebody
yeah.
else was out there.
Mhm.
Yeah, outside smoking a cigarette too.
And I actually did just hear from someone that when the dance, what's the name of the dance place on the corner?
Canteen.
Okay, so
Teen Canteen.
Teen Canteen. So I've been told that, you could come and go usually when there are dances, and it was very common to walk over towards the plainsmen, like to leave the dance and go smoke a cigarette, or maybe some kids sneaking alcohol or whatever. But you would go over to that, people would go over to that area or an alley near the plainsmen. So who knows?
Yeah, well, and you probably maybe didn't want to be seen smoking by Teen Canteen, like, because there would have been supervision, like teachers or something
Yeah.
there, so they might not want to have been seen.
So there's a couple of things I feel like I got wrong a little bit.
I think you've done a great job, and
Well, thank you.
yeah, we all I feel like I made a mistake back then too, not doing enough in the very beginning when she went missing, thinking that the answers were going to come any day now, and we're going to find her, or she's going to come home or something, and we lost valuable time that we'll never get back again.
What did we say? You were 16 at the time, I think. You were a young girl. It wasn't your job to find out what happened to her, so you definitely don't need to be have that on your conscience. I understand the feeling, but you weren't the person who was supposed to be trying to find her. So
No, but if I had to do it over again, I'd be doing a lot different things now, knowing what I know,
Sure. Well, another thing that happened the last year is the billboard and Find Barb Cotton, fronted by yourself and Lisa Jo Sheely. That was amazing. When I saw that, I've never seen it in person, but when I saw the pictures of the billboard, that was very awesome for me to see, because that felt like that came off the momentum of the podcast,
Yep, and that's something I've always dreamed that would come about one day, is that there would be a billboard for Barb to remind us to keep it alive so she isn't forgotten. And so the day that it went up, Kathy and I went out there, and I actually did my first and only live Facebook on that, and it going up and whatever. But it was a very emotional moment for me and Kathy. We both cried and hugged each other, and
yeah,
it was a very emotional moment.
I understand, for sure. I mean, it was for me too, to just see that. Wow.
And so far, we've been able to, Lisa has, and I got to thank her for everything that she's done for Barb.
Yeah.
She's been amazing. So far, she's been able to keep it going, and I'm so proud of her.
She has done an amazing job, and you can see more at findbarbcotton.com. And what else should we talk about here a year after when I met you in person at the 40th, what did we call it? An anniversary, a celebration of life on, was it April 11th? Second time we met. And when we left, they're like, oh, we got to get together soon and have dinner or something. We still haven't done that. I mean, with COVID, and I don't live close to there exactly, but we should still do that at some point.
I would like to see you again. It's been a while since I saw you, so get another hug from you.
Well, I won't tell you why. I won't tell listeners why, but this story's not over. But I might be going back to Williston quite a bit this year for the Barbara Cotton case. And I'm not going to spoil why exactly, but there's still work to be done.
You big tease.
Yeah. Well, still trying to finalize some details on something, but...
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome news. I can't thank you enough, James, for everything that you've done. Without you, I think it just would have faded away forever.
One thing that's interesting... Well, thank you for saying that. One thing that's so interesting for me to look back in hindsight, I thought there was so much more information. There would be so much more information. It would be so much clearer what happened. I had no idea that we, the podcast and yourself and Lisa Jo and others were going to go out on these quests, really, to find out more about Frank de la Pena and Stacey Werder and all of these other things that, came forward. I just had no idea. I thought I was going up there for probably a pretty short story, but...
Yes, I agree with you. I was really shocked about when I met went and met with the police department or whatever. And when you talked with them on, I think it was episode 5, I thought we'd find out a lot more information that was documented. And I was really shocked and surprised that, and without you too, I wouldn't know half of the stuff I know now. I wouldn't know 3/4, 99%.
Well, I recently drove. I had to go out to California for a funeral, and so I decided to drive for different reasons. And I decided I might as well go to Malta and Glasgow, Montana, where Stacey Werder died in Malta. And on my way down through Northern California, I actually stopped in Wairika, California, where Stacey Werder grew up. And I met with Shelley, his sister, who spoke in episode 5. And we went up to the cemetery, actually. She showed me where he's buried, where their parents are buried and things like that. So.
Hi.
I'm Shelley.
Nice to meet you,
Nice
finally.
to meet you.
I feel like I know you, kind of.
Come on in.
Here is Shelley speaking in episode 5.
And all I heard him say was, "I'm gonna kill you. Where'd you go?" And I'm hiding in this room. And I don't know how long I was there. But I finally was able to get out of there, and I went down to my neighbor's, this old lady. And I called my mom and told her to get home quick because Stacey was going crazy. I told the lady I'm going to step out and I'm going to see if he left. Well, I'm walking out to the street and I look up and my house is on fire. And he's walking the other way towards town. And I yelled out, "Our house is on fire." He goes, "Well, who do you think did it?" And he just kept walking. I want this out of my life. I have been seeing a counselor, and I've been dealing with all this for a long time.
Come on in.
Hi.
Hello. I'm Sandra.
Hi, Sandra. Nice to meet you.
Guys, I was having an issue with my microphone, so this audio is a little bit cluttered. Sorry about that. The other person speaking here is Sandra, Shelley's daughter.
Thanks for allowing me to take a couple minutes of your time. I'm recording audio. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, that's
for the podcast?
Yeah. You have a seat in
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, have you guys been following the podcast?
Yeah. She couldn't really listen to, not this last one with Red, but the one before.
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't listen to that one.
Just didn't
The
want.
one where it said we can't tie a knot tight enough around a pair of pants.
I'm
That
sorry.
freaked me out.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
But we so much appreciate you guys helping us with this story.
Oh, we just want closure for the family.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what we want.
yeah.
I talked to Sandee a lot.
Sandee
On Facebook.
Evanson.
Yeah.
Oh, good. She's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, she is awesome. She's the one who got me in touch with you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, because I reached out to her because, like, we listened to the first couple episodes, and I was like, there's stuff that he needs to know.
Yep.
I was like, Mom needs to tell her story. Because, I mean, the things that her and my aunt went through, I mean, I wasn't alive yet. I wasn't born until 83. But I grew up listening to all these stories from her and my aunt, and the person that they knew was not the Stacey Werder that everybody else knew.
Right.
I mean, he was a completely different person. And that's why there's no doubt in their minds that he could have had something to do with it. Because, I mean, he almost killed my mom.
Right.
And he would have killed her that day if she wouldn't have hid from him. So my son, he grew up with my grandma. And one day he was going through a box of stuff and he came across a letter that he said seemed like a suicide note to my grandma from my Uncle Stacey. And now no one can find it.
So he read it? Your
Yeah,
son read it?
my son read it, but I talked to him about it. He said he can't really remember what was in it, but he remembers it being in a box of stuff under Grandma's bed. And he was just being a kid, and snooping in Grandma's or Mom's room. And, because my grandma was the one who raised him, so that was his mom. And he's snooping in Mom's room and found a letter and said that it was a suicide letter.
He did. He remembers it being a suicide letter.
Yeah. And he said he brought it up to Grandma and she would not talk about it. Like, she stopped him from talking about it and just never brought it up again. And so he thinks she might have done something with it after that.
Before I left Wairika and headed on to my friend's memorial service, Stacey's sister Shelley and I drove up to the cemetery in Wairika.
That's where Stacey's buried.
Stacey DeMar Werder, U.S. Navy, 10-5-59, 7/16/1981. And then it says, you want to read what it says there?
Yeah, it says on the road again.
On the road again. Is that something your mom decided?
Yeah. This all came from my mom.
Who else we have here?
This is my daughter, beloved daughter and sister, 12/3/1980, 12/3/1980.
I'm so sorry. Got leads.
And then this one is my little brother. He was born in 58 and died in 59. This over here is my dad and my grandparents. This is my grandparents. That's my dad. And this is my dad's sisters.
We'll get right back to the rest of this episode in a second, but now I'd like to tell you about this week's sponsor, The Well Cleanse. If you're like me, you don't always stop to consider that poor gut health can cause fatigue, anxiety, and even muscle and joint pain. If you are experiencing these things, you should really check out The Well Cleanse, a 15-day program developed by Dr. Frank Lipman. The Well Cleanse resets your gut microbiome, and it's not a fad diet or about deprivation. You can still eat real food while on this cleanse. Now, I'll tell you that my sponsor, The Well, sent me a 15-day cleanse. The cleanse arrives in a neat package with very easy-to-follow instructions. It includes gut-supportive supplements that help break down the food you eat and improves digestion, and you also get a detox protein powder, a blender bottle, recipes, and support from a team of health coaches. Now, I've not started my cleanse yet, but yesterday I did have my first online cleanse coaching session with Amanda at The Well. Amanda walked me through the process, and she did make me feel comfortable and confident that a 15-day cleanse would be pretty straightforward and easy. Again, this is not a fasting routine or restriction diet exactly. There are some things you'll need to cut out, but only for 15 days. Amanda also shared with me her email address and is available to answer any questions I'll have on my journey. If you're looking for an easy way of maybe rebooting your system and simply feeling better, check out The Well Cleanse. To take $50 off The Well Cleanse and 20% off other wellness goodies from The Well, visit thewellcleanse.com and use promo code SPOTLIGHT. Visit thewellcleanse.com or see the link in the podcast show notes. Again, it's thewellcleanse.com. Use promo code SPOTLIGHT. Go check them out. Now, let's get back to my conversation with Sandee Evanson. And another thing I did on my way back to North Dakota from California after this was I stopped in Rawlings, Wyoming, which is was sad, actually. And I parked across the street from where Frank De La Pena abducted Penny and Renee and later killed them. That was, I don't even know what to say. It was just...
I'm emotional just thinking about it.
That's one of the things I mean about it's hard to look back, a year ago, almost a year ago, you and I met in the park in the freezing cold, and I'm going to do this story. And then 10 months later, I'm parked across the street from an old drugstore in Rawlings, Wyoming. And it's just kind of surreal. Like
it is
where Barbara's story takes us, I guess.
Yep. That was a really emotional episode about when we find, goodness. What was the lady's name that was kind of the advocate for the family?
Andy or Andre.
Yeah.
I remember it being a safe town. Wyoming felt comfortable to me. I didn't need parental supervision. I remember walking the streets and feeling safe, playing outside until the streetlights went out. I remember walking down to the stores and never fearing anything. I could go to the roller rink, I could go to the movie theaters, I could go pretty much anywhere I wanted without having to have my parents constantly monitor me and my friends. And it was that way until the day that Penny and Renee were abducted.
She was amazing, but
Yeah.
it was very emotional listening to that story, and it was very scary. Like, that's always been like one of the biggest fears I've always had, is something like that happened to Barb.
She got just grabbed, basically, or lured into.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Thursday, May 7th, 1981. Just 26 days since Barbara Cotton was last seen alive. It's high noon in Riverton, Wyoming, when a 21-year-old woman named Tricia pulls into the parking lot of the grocery store, Safeway, on North Federal Boulevard. Maybe as she heads towards the Safeway entrance, she zips up her jacket or pulls up her collar. It's unusually cool, just 50 degrees. Inside the store is a man about 30 years of age. He's got dark curly hair and a round face. He's about 5 foot 6 inches tall, maybe 160 pounds, and looks Latino, maybe Mexican. He's wearing a dark leisure suit and an English touring cap, the kind that buttons down on the front, on the brim. On the lapel of his jacket is a John Lennon pin. He's wearing a cream-colored shirt with pictures of women on it. The women are all kneeling. The man approaches Tricia. He says, "Hey, I have an Alaskan Malamute puppy I need to give to a good home because I'm being transferred to South America. You can have it for free if you want." The young woman is interested. "I'll wait for you in the parking lot." The woman agrees, and the stranger leaves Tricia to finish her grocery shopping. A few minutes later, she exits Safeway with her shopping cart and finds the man waiting for her outside. "Can I show you that puppy now?" "Let me put my groceries in my car first," she tells him. The man watches as Tricia puts her bags in the trunk of her car. They walk up to a white van. It's a Ford, maybe 1973, with windows and a side door. It's pulling a camper trailer, also white. The van has a North Dakota license plate on it, ANL 711. "The puppy's inside the camper. Come on in," he says. "We might have to search for him. He's probably hiding." The girl takes another look at the man, his curly hair, the leisure suit, the John Lennon pin. The world is still mourning John Lennon. He was assassinated just 5 months earlier in New York. The man opens the door to the camper, but no puppy shows itself. "Will you help me look for him?" he says. Perhaps it's just a gut feeling, perhaps instinct, but the woman declines to enter the camper. Perhaps she says, "Can't you just bring him outside so I can see him?" "You know, maybe he's in the van," the man says. He shuts the door to the camper and opens the van's side door. "Come on in." The young woman considers the situation, a free puppy. But she stands her ground. The man asks her again and again and again to help him find the little dog. "Come on in." Tricia backs away. Something's not right. She returns to her car, gets inside, and who knows, maybe she even locks her doors. She starts up her car and shifts it into reverse. But before she can back out of the parking stall, the man has moved his van and trailer. He's parked it right behind her, boxing her in. She can't leave. She can't get out. "What are you doing?" she says, maybe through a cracked window. A conversation takes place. The girl agrees to let the man follow her home. Maybe how else to get him to move his big rig so she can leave, but this wise young woman has no intention of letting this stranger follow her to her house. The man moves his big rig out of the way and then follows Tricia as she drives her car through the parking lot and stops at the exit along Federal Boulevard. Federal Boulevard is 5 lanes in total, 2 lanes in each direction and a center turning lane. The girl looks left and then right as traffic approaches from both directions. Perhaps she takes a quick peek in the rearview mirror and sees this curly-haired stranger observing her from the white van. Perhaps she doesn't turn on her turn signal at all. Or maybe she does. Maybe she signals that she's going to turn right. Tricia passes on 1 or 2 opportunities to safely pull into the boulevard. She waits for that perfect, life-saving opportunity, and then she jets across 3 lanes in front of heavy traffic and speeds north, leaving the man and the heavy and clumsy rig stuck, waiting for an opening. The next time Tricia will see this man's face will be in a 9-picture photo lineup shown to her by police.
And so, that made me think about what could have Barb's last moments been like.
Oh my goodness.
What it was like for them 2 little girls.
Oh my goodness.
It's horrifying, and that's like some of this last year has been a lot of ups and downs. You think you're getting somewhere or something, and maybe we are. And then the down about like that just being so terrible, thinking about what happened to Barb or could have happened to her.
Right. Let me ask you a question that I already know the answer to, I think. Are you ever going to give up?
No, I'm never. I mean, I'll still keep doing whatever I can do. Like, I don't like doing these interviews.
No, you don't.
But like I always say, I'll do whatever I can, for Barb. This is like her last chance. And I don't know how much longer I got on this earth, but I'll do what I can as long as I'm here.
Sandee, I can't thank you enough for talking with us again. I know it's been a while since people heard from you on the podcast, but it all started with your voice and my voice in the beginning of episode 1. So I thought we should maybe sort of, again, not end the podcast. We're not ending per se, but this might be the last one for a while. And
well, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well. I want to thank Sandee Evanson again for her great contribution to this whole season. Just a couple of days ago, I spoke with someone who has a very interesting memory in regards to Barbara's disappearance. I'm hoping to be able to share that with you soon, but it might be a month or more because for various reasons, this person needs a little more time before coming forward. It's complicated, but worth the wait. Meanwhile, Season 6, Vanishing Act, starts on February 2nd. And here's something new. I'm going to start posting more on YouTube on the Dakota Spotlight channel. Moving forward, you'll be able to listen to episodes there, but I'll also be posting videos and photos from the stories I'm covering. And a couple times a month, I might post a video with a Dakota Spotlight update with just me talking about what's going on or sharing behind-the-scenes stuff. I don't much like being on camera. To be honest, I'd rather be behind a camera, but maybe it's time for me to get over that. And speaking of video, last year we won a regional Emmy Award for the documentary film The House on Sweet and 7th, which is also season 3 of this podcast. That film was co-produced by Dakota Spotlight and Forum Communications Click Content Studios. Shout out to Derek Fletcher and others there. To be honest, I don't feel like I thank all of you listeners enough. You make this podcast possible. Last night at 10 p.m. I was working on this very episode, and I got a call from a listener in Glasgow, Montana, who recently discovered the Barb Cotton podcast. She just called to say how much she enjoys and appreciates Dakota Spotlight. Sometimes I get emails similar to this. I get wonderfully supportive comments in the Facebook group, and the Apple Podcast reviews are almost exclusively positive ones. I want you to know that this feedback does have an impact on me, and it's partially why I continue to do this work. I can't always get back to all of you, but it does mean the world to me. Thank you so much, listeners. And if you have an iPhone, consider giving Dakota Spotlight a review and rating over there. That helps others find this podcast. I want to thank the Cotton family, the Werder family, Carrie Abbey, Find Barb Cotton, the Williston Police Department. I want to thank Emily Hirsch and others in Denver, law enforcement in Wyoming and Montana. I want to thank Andy Johnson. Big shout out to Isaac Ike Turner of Kalamazoo and all his musician friends for sharing their cool music. Over on Twitter, thank you Aaron Reed, Liz Barnsley, and others for your support. Finally, and off topic, I'll selfishly use my platform here and now to say another goodbye to my childhood friend Patrick McDowell, who passed away last year. Dude, I don't know if you are listening, but I keep forgetting you're gone. Keep picking up my phone, thinking I'll just give you a quick call. You are missed by many, but your passing has helped reunite old friends like Stephanie and your cousin and I and others in places like Alexander Valley, Westside, Fitch Mountain, Dry Creek, and all our old high school haunts. I'll reiterate what Sandee Evanson said in this episode and say, I don't know how much longer I'll be on this earth. In my case, I'm hoping for another 4 decades, but whenever my time comes, I look forward to hanging out with you again, brother. To all of you, once again, thank you for listening to another episode of A Better Search for Barbara. I'll see you next time. Dakota Spotlight is a production of Forum Communications. This season is dedicated to my daughters and to all daughters everywhere. To support the Find Barb Cotton Billboard Fund, head over to findbarbcotton.com or email Lisa Jo at findbarbcotton@gmail.com. A Better Search for Barbara is written, recorded, and edited by me, James Wolner, and researched by myself and the growing community of people dedicated to getting answers about Barbara's disappearance. Many thanks to Isaac Turner of Kalamazoo, Michigan, for providing awesome music for this season. Check him out by searching Wowza in Kalamazoo on bandcamp.com. To support me and the podcast, please consider becoming a member of all Forum Communications news sites. You can do so by visiting inforum.com/subscribe. Once you are a member, you can enjoy the awesome in-depth true crime stuff at Forum Communications' The Vault. And why not check out the Dakota Spotlight Facebook group or find me on Twitter. To contact me, email me at dakotaspotlight@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.
the well. Before we bought the ranch, there was nowhere left to fall, but you always knew the shaft. Every bug I've ever swallowed swam till I couldn't feel it, and every bone I've ever broken bent until I couldn't move it.
Come on, it's been 40 years.